What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So sorry for the late upload today, but I got the opportunity this morning to play with one of my favorite content creators for the first time, Jack Frags. That's what this tweet about was over here. I did Iron Trials with him. Ton of fun. Amazing dude. I like the mode a lot too, actually. I'll probably make more videos on that in the future, but I know I said today was going to be a follow-up on yesterday's video and talk about the actual recoil of the optics. But I'm going to actually do that tomorrow. I'm just exhausted today, so I did a simpler video for today. I've been getting all kinds of tweets asking me if something changed with the Swiss, because all kinds of people think the Swiss is messed up now. So I went in and I tested all the things that I could think of that could possibly be wrong. And because I'm me, I got into it and I started testing a bunch of other things. I tested the Pelington and the Car 98 for a bunch of different things as well. So I'm going to basically go over all that in this video and what I found. But as always, if you like the content, drop a sub, a like, and a comment to help support the website and support the YouTube. But let's get into it and I will show you what I found. So the first thing I did to check this was I just went into a clash match and just tried to see if the reticle appeared to line up with where I was aimed with the hipfire dot. So that's what this video is in the background here. It's just me ADSing on a certain point and seeing where the reticle went compared to where the hipfire dot was. And this all looked perfectly good to me. I checked this with both the Roman standard and the regular gun without a blueprint. No issues there at all. This is me switching over to the Roman standard. Put the reticle in the same spot. You can see it's all just due to aim sway that's causing it to not be in the exact spot. You can see the hipfire dot actually move as I start to ADS, and it's in the exact same spot. So there's no change there. Then I went and took some shots at specific objects to make sure that the bullet was actually going where the reticle was. So that's what this video is. I was lining up at the very top of this plant. I would shoot, and then I'd run up and check to see where the bullet actually went. And it was completely fine. You'll see as soon as I get close to this, it goes right through that very top portion of the plant, just like it should. It's exactly where I was aimed, so no difference there. And then I swap over to the regular non-Roman standard. So this is a non-Roman standard, just the regular Swiss. Do the exact same thing. And you'll see again, no issues here at all. It's lined up perfectly. There's nothing off about it whatsoever. Went right through the very top of the plant. It just looks like it's a little bit above it because I'm angled down a little bit with where I was looking there. Next up, I wanted to see, this was an idea from my friend Charles. He said, well, maybe after the first shot, it's not lined up as it's wobbling around or something in between coming back to fully stable. So I did 2 shots as fast as possible and looked at the bullet hole to make sure it lined up with where the reticle looked like it was exactly at the time of the second shot. So that's what this video is. So I line it up here, take the shot, take the second shot as fast as possible. You can see it was right on the left edge of that left 10 on the target, slightly above it, and that's exactly where it went. So I don't think there's any alignment issues with the optic, with the reticle at all. I think it's just placebo. Like maybe someone mentioned this and it's kind of spread around the community, because I've probably gotten 5 or 10 tweets, and I couldn't find anything that was different about the gun whatsoever. I tested fire rate, I tested obviously all the reticle stuff. I tested bullet velocity. I tested damage. Everything's exactly the same about the Swiss as far as I can tell from all of my analysis. This video is the same thing as the last one, where I was seeing if there was any misalignment as you were firing as fast as possible. So in this one, you can actually see the bullet hole form, and you can see that it's going right where it should. So every one of those shots to me looked like it went exactly where it should. So I literally had intended just to check to see if the reticle was aligned on the Swiss, because I was getting messages about that. But because I'm me, I couldn't leave it at that, and I went and tested other stuff too. So I retested the bullet velocity for the Swiss, the Pelington, the car, and also the fire rate for all of them, as well as the ADS times for all of them, just to make sure everything was up to date. So looking at the bullet velocity, the Swiss looks like I got a slight buff from 1018 up to 1060, but I was testing at 400 meters instead of 500 meters, so there's probably slightly faster bullet velocity there because the bullets do slow down over time. So with an extra 100 meters of travel, the average bullet velocity over that 500 meters was probably a little bit slower than the average bullet velocity was over the 400 meters in my new test. So slight difference there. Whether or not that's like 1 frame off plus that effect, I don't know. It might have gotten a slight buff there, but Pelington I tested at 1078 meters per second, which is 11% faster than it used to be. And this makes more sense, being a little bit faster than the Car 98 and the Swiss, because there are a lot of other downsides to the gun. didn't make sense before when the bullet velocity was down that low. So this, I'm sure, was a real buff to the Pelington that we didn't know about. For a lot of reasons, I still think the Swiss and the car are a better option. But at least the Pelington has something going for it now, that slightly higher bullet velocity. Car 98 was exactly the same, so it was 1.4% faster. This is the kind of result I was expecting with 400 meters instead of 500 meters for the test. It was slightly quicker, only 1.4%, so I don't think there was any change there. Fire rate, all the fire rates were the same except the Swiss, except the Pelington. The Pelington before was like low 43s RPM, and now it was like upper 43s. So again, I don't know if that's a slightly weird test result last time or what, but slightly faster fire rate now. ADS times were pretty much what you'd expect. The Swiss was at 408 milliseconds, Pelington at 408 milliseconds as well. Car 98 with the precision stock, so that's the stock that reduces your aim sway, was at 383, and then with the ADS stock, so the stock that reduces your ADS times, it was 338. So that's a pretty big difference there. Again, I think those are pretty standard numbers. I think that's what they were before. It's always been slightly faster in ADS with the precision stock than both the Swiss and the Pelington. Again, these are full meta builds. So for the Swiss and the Pelington, that's combat recon barrel, the agency suppressor, 5 milliwatt, airborne elastic, and a mag of some sort. So I use the fast mag for both of them, both the Pelington and the Swiss. But those don't affect ADS times. And then the car is just the standard maximum bullet velocity build with a sniper scope. So really, I still think the Swiss and the Car 98 are the two best options. The Pelington just does not have the damage. Let's go look at the damage profiles. But looking at this, you'd say, oh, well, the Pelington looks like it's pretty good because it has faster bullet velocity than the Swiss, faster fire rate than the Swiss, and the same ADS. So why is the Pelington worse than the Swiss? Well, two reasons. One, let's go look at the damage profile. So I've got those three guns built here. Looking at the damage profile, the Pelington has no neck shot multiplier and only does 112 to the chest, whereas the Swiss does 190 to the neck and 180 to the chest. And I did even test that. I confirmed that that has not changed as of today. So the Swiss still does this crazy amount of damage to the neck and chest, whereas the Pelington has none of that. It's only a headshot sniper. And that's a pretty big downside. I know obviously most of the time you're aiming for headshots. The other big downside of the Pelington when compared to the Swiss is reload time. The Pelington is a single reload, one bullet at a time, just like the Car 98. Whereas the Swiss, you can reload all 5 bullets in like 1.5 seconds with that fast mag. So those are the two reasons I would still recommend the Swiss, even though the Pelington now has this faster bullet velocity. And then the Car 98 is kind of in the middle there, where it does less damage to the neck and less damage to the chest than the Swiss. Very similar bullet velocity, but it has better ADS times, which is really, really important. And slightly slower bullet velocity. They're about the same. I mean, it's basically neck and neck. There's not a whole lot of difference there. You can't really say that one wins in bullet velocity than the other. So really, nothing has changed except the Pelington. The Pelington got that bullet velocity buff, but still, I don't think it's worth using. I just wanted to make this video, get that data out there. It was supposed to be a really simple video. I ended up doing a lot more testing than I expected, but I hope you guys found it interesting and informative. And I'll see you guys all in the next video, which should be out tomorrow.